All right, so here's some of the questions that I would have asked the devs, right? And this is just my questions. You could call it stupid if you want, okay? But I know that as a pad player, right? There's this, what is it? In the sub palette, there's all of these, different things that you can choose from, and you have to move the D-pad to cycle between them, and choose which one you want to use. This could be a little annoying at times. Um, I've used XPadder to give myself more hotkeys so I can access these abilities in my sub palette more easier. But I feel like there should be more hotkeys in game that allow you to access these things easier, because there's a lot of times where people faint and I have to move my cursor over to the revive, and then I have to move the cursor over again to like one of the other abilities that I want to use, all the while like Giga Doldorus is trying to like take my head off or something. So one shortcut in the game that a lot of people don't actually know about is that you can actually dive kick if you hold down the jump button while attacking. You will actually do a dive attack. So things like that would have made it a bit more easier to use abilities in your sub palette. I think one shortcut could have been like maybe you hold down the circle or B button, depending on which controller you're using, and then press the jump button. This will allow you to shortcut to something else, like maybe to revive a teammate or something, which is honestly not bad, because how often do you revive somebody on accident, right? Usually when you revive somebody, you meant to revive somebody, unless they constantly going down or if they're AFK in the area and they're dropping. So, and on top of that, the B button and the circle button isn't really used for anything except for interacting with things, which you aren't really doing in the battle anyway. So, holding the circle down and then pressing the jump button would have been convenient for another shortcut move similar to the dive kick. Next question. As a true Phantasy Star fan, I would have asked, are we going to get reach the goal stages like, Phantasy Star always has been up until this point with New Genesis? There's this open world feature, which in my opinion is actually pretty cool, but I just feel like it's not getting utilized a lot. You go into these different regions, no matter which region it is, you can look at the top left and it'll show you how many people it'll show you what's the limit, how many people are allowed to be in this area, and it'll show you how many people are actually in this area. And oftentimes, you will see 1 or 2 of 24, and you're one of those people. So, I feel like it's just dead in the world. You go to the hub world, there's a whole bunch of people around there standing around, inside, standing in front of that personal shop storage looking for items. So I traveled to Retem real quick because I wanted to show you. There's this big door, not far from the entrance into Retem, and it always stuck out to me, and I always just wondered, man, like you go up to this door and you just can't interact with it or anything. And I was thinking, man, the open world, while I'm not disappointed with it, I feel like it's just not as fun. It's not as interesting because of the lack of people that are in it. So if we had like reach the goal stages, it probably make things a bit more interesting. You're in this open world. You go up to a door. You interact with it. You choose, which type of enemy level you want there to be, maybe some other features. Do you want to have like NPCs come with you or not, things like that. And then you start the quest, and then you go and you start the stage, go through 1 or 2 areas, and then there's a boss at the end. This would have been a great feature in my opinion, because I find myself, when I'm playing this game, I find myself like constantly just being in the combat zones just the whole time, and honestly it gets uninteresting after a while. It was fun at first, but then it just kind of becomes a chore, like, oh, I'm only doing this because I want to farm burst and get money so I could buy something. Another question I would have asked is, are we going to get the friend avatars back, where you could register a character and your friends can use it as a buddy for their quests, and you as well. You can take one of your other characters as a companion with you into the quest, as long as you have them registered. This would be so good to like take one of your other created characters as well as your friends' avatars into the combat zones, where they could actually have some good equipment and probably be almost as valuable as having like another real person with you in the combat zones. These NPCs that they give you to work with, you don't really remember them. They're just so forgettable. The only ones that I really remember are Leah May, because she has a nice name and you see her every day to get those tasks, and Geeden, and this other cast guy because he has the badass Dragon Lord armor. The rest of these guys are forgettable, and all the NGS NPCs that actually are like worth acknowledging, like Manon, Aina, Nadare, Glenn, Kanui, you know, those characters, you can't take them with you into the combat field. So the friend avatar would have been a nice feature that I would like to see come back. So another thing that kind of annoys me are these structures and objects that you can break in the world, but you need like an object in order to do so. Those can be really frustrating at times, like those magma spears in the Steer region, along with the mineral bulge that they have going on, the mineral boulder. That can be really annoying because you could be fighting enemies and then you'll lock onto that, and it's like, why am I locking onto that if I can't do anything to it? You know, the only time that you should be able to lock onto these structures is if you have the necessary item to break it, like those comets that fall from the sky, or those yellow crystals in the Cavaris region, something like that, to break those ice blocks. Because when you're in a battle and you're locking onto those things when you're trying to lock onto the enemy, it could get really annoying. So those were some of the questions that I had for the devs. I'm sure I could come up with a few more if, you know, I put more thought into it. But those are the ones that immediately came to my mind. I feel like we definitely need more shortcuts, especially for the pad players. If you feel like it'll get in the way, you can literally just make it optional. Make it something that's optional. You know, you don't have to have it turned on, turn it off if you want. And also these objects that you lock on even though you can't do anything to them. You know, I don't think you should be able to lock onto them unless you have the necessary item to break it. Alright, so that's gonna do it for me. If you're still here, I thank you for watching. I will see you guys later.